At night and in the morning on October 5, the Russian military shelled Donetsk and Horlivka sectors, said Pavlo Kyrylenko, the head of the Donetsk Regional Military Administration. According to him, in Donetsk sector, Avdiivka and villages in Ocheretinska Hromada were under fire. In Avdiivka, there were individual strikes in the old town, and in the morning, the center came under heavy artillery fire. At night, the Russians also struck Karlivka water reservoir in Ocheretinska Hromada. No victims are reported so far, Mr. Kyrylenko reported. The Donetsk Regional Police informs that the Russian army undertook an airstrike and used Uragan and Grad rocket launchers as well as artillery. Mr. Kyrylenko noted that in Horlivka sector, the Russian military shelled Chasovoyarska, Bakhmutska and Svitlodarska communities. There was an airstrike on Chasiv Yar, which damaged a house. No information about any victims, he said. As reported by Mr. Kyrylenko, on the night of October 5, Bakhmut and Ivanivska were shelled, resulting in 2 people injured and 2 houses damaged. In Svitlodarska Hromada, the Russian army hit Odradivka and Mayorsk station. Pavlo Kyrylenko, the head of the Donetsk Regional Military Administration, reported that the Russian bombardments killed a civilian in Mayorsk station, Zaitseve, on October 4. 6 other people were injured. He added that 3 people were wounded in Bakhmut and 1 in each of the following: Kramatorsk, Rozdolivka and Siversk. What is more, exhumation in Svyatohirsk unearthed bodies of 4 killed civilians, he said. 923 people have been killed and 2,320 injured in Donetsk region after the Russian invasion of Ukraine began. It is currently impossible to determine the accurate number of victims in Mariupol and Volnovakha. At around 9 a.m. on October 5, the Russian forces carried out a missile strike on Zaporizhzhia. The air defense was deployed, said Alexander Staruch, the head of the Zaporizhzhia Regional Military Administration. The enemy launched missiles on Zaporizhzhia and its suburbs. Infrastructure facilities suffered damage. Information about victims is yet to be learned, he noted. As reported by the Zaporizhzhia Regional Military Administration on October 4, the previous day the Russians shelled civil infrastructure in Pologhivsky and Zaporizhzhia districts, Zaporizhzhia region. The Russian troops bombarded homes of civilians in Orychivska and Hulaypilska Hromadas. The locals reported houses destroyed by direct hits. Strikes were also registered in the villages of Znachkove and Novoyakovlivka, Zaporizhzhia district. The law enforcement bodies handed over the materials to the Regional Security Service to launch criminal proceedings. Valentin Reznichenko, the head of Dnipropetrovsk Regional Military Administration, announced that on the night of October 5, the Russian military shelled 3 hromadas of Nikopolsky district with BM-21 and heavy artillery. According to him, Chervono-Grigorivka, Nikopol and Marhanets hromadas came under fire. Previously, people were not injured. In Chervono-Grigorivka hromada, 2 houses were destroyed and up to 2 dozen were mutilated. Russian shells damaged 2 lyceums, a church, a shop, a gas pipeline and power lines. Recreation centers were shelled in Nikopol. In Marhanets Hromada, rescuers continue to survey the territory and find out the scale of the destruction. The Operational Command South reported that air defense forces shot down the Shahid 136 kamikaze drone over the sea near Odesa. After the announcement of the air alert, an explosion rang out in the city. According to the military, the drone was trying to attack the city. On the night of October 5, Russian troops attacked Bila Tserkva in the Kyiv region with kamikaze drones. Alexei Kuleba, the head of Kyiv Regional Military Administration, announced this at 3:11 a.m. We have information about several explosions in Bila Tserkva. According to preliminary data, the city was attacked by kamikaze drones. Because of this, there were fires at infrastructure facilities. There is 1 victim, he wrote. Information about the destruction and victims has been ascertained. At 1 minute past 4 a.m., Mr. Kuleba reported a repeated series of kamikaze drone strikes on the infrastructure of Bila Tserkva. Lyudmila Potapova is among those who survived after the shelling of the column in Kurilivka. On September 25, a woman with her elderly parents fled from shelling in Kupiansk-Vuzlovy. They fired at the column simply to destroy it. There were 5 cars and 1 gazelle. There was a pregnant woman, children, elderly people, civilians. Residents of the suburbs of Kupiansk tried to escape from the shelling. The column moved towards the occupied Svatovo in the Luhansk region. Lyudmila says that this trip was organized by a local private carrier. He collected money from people. He said that everything will be fine. Come in the morning and we'll leave. He said that the road is clean, we can drive without any problems. And how much did it cost? 6,000 hryvnias per person. Lyudmila and her mother, Tamara, were saved. Her father was killed by a shot in the head. He shouted to me all the way, "Get out of the car or it will explode right now." I say, "I won't go without you." When we climbed the forest station, heavy machinery was driving. They wanted to finish us off or something. According to the prosecutor's office, at least 24 people died in that column, including children and a pregnant woman. They shot through the cars with grenade launchers so that they would not run into the forest station, and from the other side they finished off with machine guns. My son's car burned in front of me with a 6-year-old child, the child's grandmother and father. I fell out of the car. I was lying in the rubble. My knees were already shot. With his legs shot, Mykola Bondarenko led the 7 survivors to the nearest village. Now these people in the territory controlled by Ukraine are testifying about the crime of the occupiers.